Namaste friends. Recently I had a very interesting case. A lady was referred to me by her family actually because they were quite worried. She was unnecessarily suspecting her husband of having an affair, and this was causing a problem not between the two of them, but also it was extending to other family members. She would constantly interrogate the husband, check his belongings, have a quarrel, and this was negatively impacting upon everyone. So I did my initial assessment, and as part of the treatment, I suggested we do a technique called evidential thinking. So what I asked her is, tell me in one sentence what is worrying you the most. And she wrote this. So this we did on a piece of paper. She said, my husband is having an affair. So I said, write down and now rate this belief from 0 to 10. 0 is your husband is not at all having an affair. 10 is you are convinced he is having an affair. And she gave a number of 10 out of 10. She said, I am convinced my husband is having an affair. So I said, okay, fine. You now have to give me evidence for this. So you give me evidence for this belief that your husband is having an affair. And she told me that he spends a lot of time online. And this was the main reason why she suspected. So she had noticed her husband was spending a lot of time on WhatsApp, Facebook. So I said, okay, how does that mean that he's having an affair? And she said, because there are other women online. She herself has gone on WhatsApp and she has seen the status of her husband online, but also of some other females online. And they seem to coincide. So whenever he's online, these women are also online. And that means that they are communicating with each other. So I said, okay, can you rate this evidence? And she said, oh, this is a very strong evidence, 9 out of 10. I said, okay, now you yourself have to write down evidence against this. Evidence against. And she said, well, it's not always that he's there online and these particular women are also there online. So it doesn't happen all the time. And we discussed this more, and she said, well, he may be online because he's chatting to some of his male friends, or he's online just for recreation or for work purpose. There could be other reasons why he's there online. So I said, okay, so looking at this, overall, how credible is your evidence? The fact that he's spending a lot of time online, how much does that support this belief that he's having an affair? He said, okay, looking at both evidence for and against, I think, to be fair, it's only 50-50, 5 out of 10. He may be online, chatting to other women, having an affair, and that may not be the case. So I said, okay, what's your next evidence? And she said, he comes late from work. And that could be only because after work he's spending time with someone. So I said, okay, what's the degree of evidence? What number would you give? And she said 8 out of 10. I said, okay, fine. What's the evidence against? And then after some hesitation, she said that she had actually called the workplace a few times when he was late and he was still there. So husband was still at workplace and she checked it by calling the workplace. She said that her husband's job is anyway busy, and she knows that even before she had this suspicion, he was spending a lot of time. She's spoken to some of the colleagues, she knows them, and they also say the work is quite busy. So she's confirmed from others. I said, okay, so then how strong is this evidence? She said, not really, it's not very strong. There could be other reasons why he's late from work. I said, okay, any other evidence? And she said, he doesn't love me. So we both smiled, because this is a complaint common to many couples where they believe that the partner doesn't love them enough. So I said, okay, what's the evidence for that? How much would you rate this? And she said, oh, this is definite, 10 out of 10. What's the evidence? He doesn't give us time. He sometimes argues with us. He's not interested as much. So she gave a few evidence. And I said, what's the evidence against this? And she said, well, he does give us time when he comes back from work. He spends time with his kids. He makes some jokes with us. He often says, I love you. Sometimes we make love. He goes out for shopping with me. Every weekend we go out. So she gave me a few things. So I said, then how strong is this belief? And she said, she thought for a while, and she said, well, I still think that he does not love me, but probably 6 out of 10. I then said, well, do you have any hard evidence that he's having an affair? Do you know the name of this woman? Have you caught them in the act? Have you checked his mobile? Were there any messages? She said, no, I've done all of that, but I have no hard evidence. So in terms of hard evidence for this belief, evidence 4 was nothing. She has checked on his mobile, even clothing, things like that, and there was nothing. So in terms of evidence against, there was nothing. So she said, overall in terms of hard evidence, nothing. So I said, now looking at this exercise, how would you rate your belief again that your husband is having an affair? And she thought for a while. She looked at the whole thing again and again, spent a few minutes. And she said, I don't know. I said, this is the honest answer. We don't know whether he's having an affair or not. We don't have any hard evidence. You've given me some evidence, which we don't discredit, but there's also evidence against. And then she said, well, then that means it's 5 out of 10. So from 10 out of 10, it went to 5 out of 10. And I said, this is the honest answer. We don't know. It's 50-50. He may be having an affair. He may not be having an affair. She felt quite relieved, and I said, well, why don't you do this exercise every day? In the evening, sit down, and for that day, if you found any evidence, write it down, and then also be the devil's advocate and write evidence against that. And do it daily for 7 days. See me in the next week for the next session. And she came for the next session. She brought her notebook with her. We looked at it. There were few evidence for and against. And she said, well, now I'm not too sure. I'm not getting a lot of evidence. I said, fine, do it again. So after 3 or 4 sessions, she came and she said, you know, doctor, I'm really not sure if he's having an affair. I think it was all my mind making up things. And I said, well, that's fine. And I checked with the family, and the family said, well, she's a lot more relaxed. She's peaceful. She's communicating with the husband better. The kids are feeling a lot better now. And the family atmosphere has changed. So this is called evidence-based thinking or evidential thinking. One of the most effective techniques in psychology derived from cognitive behavior therapy or CBT. My friends, I would suggest you check this belief You check this exercise with your other beliefs as well. A lot of people are having anxieties about, say, coronavirus now. Write down. Some people think if I catch coronavirus, I'll die. Look at the evidence for and against. Many depressed people, they feel I am bad. So write down I am bad. What's the evidence for and against? Do it regularly. Don't do it in your mind. Do it on a piece of paper, because that's how you can refer to it again, and it's black and white on paper. Some people think that this world is an unfair place. Write it down. So any of your core belief which you are quite worried about and which occupies a lot of your mind, write it down. Look at the evidence for and against, and you will come to an objective, truthful position. That will reset your mind in its natural state. You will feel less anxious. You'll worry about things a lot less. If there was one technique from my career which I would recommend, it's this one: evidence-based thinking. So my friends, take out your notebook and pen, write down one of your core beliefs, see what's the evidence for and against, and let me know how you get on with it. Thank you. Namaste.